Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and let us sail the astral void in a third party um, supplement compatible with 5th edition known as Starlight Arcana. This week we've been taking a look at some uh, third party products that have really inspired me, and I thought I would share them with you guys. We're going to take a page through, not really a review, but some inspirational material from these products. And for those who uh, for lack of a better term, love fantasy D20, uh, Dungeons and Dragons, and all its derivations, you can absolutely still enjoy that without giving much of your attention or your money to Hasbro, Wizards of the Coast, or Dungeons and Dragons, the product itself. It is very, very less pulpy. Not this isn't Rocket Age 5e. This is Starlight Arcana. This product was created as an unfortunate different take on the idea of Spelljammer and the the of course the we know that the Spelljammer, its despite its inception, was not really embraced by the community. It lacked, well, dare I say, it lacked a sailing astral not starships. What are they called? Spelljammer combat section, which is really weird because they could have very easily created such a thing, and that by itself, I think, uh, drove some of the community pretty mad. So we're going to take a page through and find out from other third party creators their interpretation of what Spelljammer could be. And this is by I'm going to miss. I'm sure I'm butchering the name. Kelfacel is the name of the individual that one of a number of individuals that came up with this product. It's called Starlight Arcana, and it is a sandbox adventure module setting material, of course, absolutely included in this, about traveling the void, astral void of space. Now, of course, as a third party creator, there are legal boundaries when it comes to creation. You cannot pull material from intellectual property that is owned by one company and use it for yourself and make money off of it. You just can't do that. So, is this the actual astral plane? Yes, because astral is not something you can own, but does it pull from the material, the background material, the intellectual property of Dungeons and Dragons? No. This is going off into other directions, other realms, and considering it is a bit of a sandbox, it does. You'll find out that it does make sense, and how it is able to how it's able to ride the line of a sandbox and an adventure in a setting module is the um, it uses a concentric circle process. So, in other words, um, the first circle of locations, for lack of a better term, they're planets, the players come in contact with, it will give them information and unlock the ability to get to the second circle and third circle and such. Similar to a dungeon dive where you go for like the first level of the dungeon is first level, you go to the second level of the dungeon at second level. That is how this is done. Of course, it is a way to guardrail the player characters from getting into too much trouble, but it also allows the players to uncover information and delve into this wider world. What I love about here is in the opening, the acknowledgement section, it says, defying all standards and odds, I was able to bring together an absolutely phenomenal cast of talented people that come from many different parts of the world. Poland, Brazil, Italy, Belarus, Russia, Spain, Hungary, India, Australia, and some other parts I am probably forgetting right now. We all together made Starlight Arcana a reality, and I cannot wait to see what other amazing things we will create together in the future. And mind you, coming from a different place doesn't automatically make you a great creator. But I will say that being able to see our hobby through the eyes of other people in other cultures, I'm very proud to be a part of individuals that do that. So, and it also means that there's nothing, there is no downside to having other points of view and other cultures embraced in our hobby. And I really like that. I like to find third party products from other, from the ideas and the viewpoint of other cultures and such. And this supplement kind of does that as you go to these different worlds and planets and regions in the astral void. Uh, you'll see those. Here's the author, Constantine Kelfacel Christakis. I believe he's Greek. There's limited uh, YouTube videos, so maybe there's a Twitch channel and other things of that nature. But yeah, lots of last names that unfortunately I would butcher, and I would not want to disrespect them by trying to try to pronounce them. Mm-mm-mm. And these are the acknowledgments. So again, uh, Spelljammer. If you're someone who's really into Spelljammer, and I think Spelljammer is a very interesting and an original setting that Dungeons and Dragons created, and it's unfortunate that they had a the opportunity to create a pivotal moment in the RPG community, and it's unfortunate that they didn't take advantage of that. So, um, talks about how to use this. Of course, there's player ancestry options, new subclasses, artifacts, spells, and then the Starlight Chronicles setting. And where is the table of contents? Here we go. Here's the table of contents. Of course, we have to have player options. That's the sexy part, right? Player options, new subclasses, artifacts, new spells that definitely deal with the voids of the astral space. There's a campaign story intro about three gods that are siblings, and they each help create parts of the universe. And then there's they have a conflict with each other, and the player characters are like unraveling the clues as to the conflict and the side effects that happened in air quotes the real world. So let's go to player character options. We have Raven Folk. See, we have imagery. I can't remember all the artwork here. There we go. Raven folk always have to have some kind of avian individuals. Rat folk. Talks about using the rat folk in your campaign. Kind of cool. I like barefoot characters for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why. Shark people. Crimson elves. Why do elves always get the love for that kind of stuff? Anyway, Crimson elves. Oops. The Etheria. Let's see what you guys have to say. Oops. Come on, chatty chat. There we go. So, are we talking about some more anachronistic magitech type stuff? A Spelljammer is kind of like that. It's sailing vessels that travel through between the stars and planets and even other planes of existence. Yeah, yeah. You're absolutely correct on that. Yeah. Deliberately butchering jargon, absolutely, absolutely. And it's um I stumble with my descriptions because the product is unable to use some of the nomenclature that belongs to the corporate intellectual properties. So they have to use something different. So I'm trying to use something different. So funny. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, Fred Flintstone's body. Hey there, Fred. Oh. Do, 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 do. We're going way up, way up. That's where the fun is, way up. Crystalloids. So, of course, these are player options. The sexy stuff, players love more and more options. I suspect there is a type of player that is suffers from the same disease as world building that we do, and every time they see a new character class, a new ancestry, lineage, heritage, or something, they've just got to try it. So, yep, yep, yep. And then there's subclasses. Then we get the subclasses. Now, one of the best things about this, let's get to the campaign intro, is absolutely the setting and the opportunity to create different types of interactions with players, essentially using fantasy Dungeons and Dragons without. Okay, this is weird to say. Rocket Age yesterday, we talked about retrofuturism, ray guns and sabers and chrome teardrop shaped starships and things. Spelljammer isn't that. Spelljammer is pirate like sailing vessels shaped in strange and new ways, literally being able to travel on these ships, standing on the decks of ships where you can actually breathe the air pocket that's around your ship and fly to other planets. Imagine yourself looking up into the sky and the what our ancestors believed about the sun and the stars, and that you could literally get in a sailing vessel and physically travel to the moon and stars. And that's what uh, Spelljammer was about. This is a campaign setting that you could easily drop into or use separately and be able to create interactions with players and have them go to new worlds and interact with new peoples. And I really like that because then those corners, those one-offs that you feel like you really couldn't introduce into your campaign setting, this is the place where you can really embrace it and go, hey, you know what I'd like to do? I'd like to have an aquatic adventure. And it's like, what, then you've got players that are like, I don't know if I want to do that. Well, you could always go to an aquatic world where, of course, you can automatically breathe the water. Now, mind you, there is a setting for this. So it is not just random planets that you go around in Spelljammer. Like I said, there are these sibling gods that take place in this world. You can embrace that heavily and use that as your setting, or this can be long ago, far away, this thing happened. This could be legend as well, and you can insert that into like the side corner of your world, and introduce the background of these siblings and moon goddesses and their conflict and such, and introduce the players to unraveling the mystery of this as they travel from place to place. It does talk about the gods that created this cataclysm, this conflict, and unraveling who they are. Are they still around? Are there followers of them? Are there different factions that belong to each of them? And of course there are. Of course there are. And the players may have to decide who they follow, or in other words, the players not making a choice at all may say, well, if you're not my friend, you're probably my enemy. And though it gives an introduction to how to get the players involved in the astral conflict, Mm, 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 mm. And here we go. For the Starlight Arcana that you are about to experience, keep the theme of balance versus perversion of natural order as the main conflict of the campaign, of restoration, but also revision, as long balance reigns around Latkar and the astral realm. Peace and a solution to the encroaching void can be achieved. So, of course, the players, in the beginning, they won't understand, but as the rings extend out of adventure, you'll notice. And of course, like I said, this is not just a setting; it is an adventure. I said before that it's kind of a sandbox, so of course the players will begin in like a hometown or a port, or maybe this is their first step into um, traveling the astral spaceways or what have you, and this is a way to introduce that to them. Of course, there is. Here we go. Of course, there is box text. I know that could be. There are people who are for or against it, but to each their own. Mm-mm-mm. There's box text, and then there's information that the players may gather after reading that box text and such. Yes, we do have ourselves an intro to people that are in a small town. A classic you meet in the tavern kind of thing. There's a little bit of that, and there are there's growing animosity in this small town, and then the players are then pulled into this greater realm as they spread out, and then boom, they get into a wider world. Let's see, if is it separated? There we go. Nope, separated. There we go. Let's get the galaxy map up here. So this is an example of the map. It is a two-page spread. I guess I could change this into a two-pager. Nope, nope, nope. There we go. See if I can fit it in here. Mm, let's see. Cover separately. There we are. All right. Let's get this two-pager in here. Boom, 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 boom. And from here, you can see there are concentric circles. So as the players begin in the middle here, there's a sun and a moon or a planet of some sort. And Lat Takar is our main sparking point, and each of these planets has a name. And of course, we begin I want to say our first level of adventure, not literal first level, but it's like the first ring of adventure as they go to these four Ariel, Ladakar, Anus, and Natania. And then from there, they gather clues to be able to go to the next ring. Yes, will your players know of all of these other planets? Not necessarily, especially if this is brand new for your game. But as they gather information, they will then learn of the next steps. Now, there is a suggestion that the each concentric ring is not only not visible, but not visitable by the players. That yeah, they can look out in the stars and see that these other places exist, but it's difficult for them to get there. So there is a little bit of a railroad, kind of. I guess it would be better thought of as buying a ticket to the next train ride if you're getting on the railroad, and the players need a ticket to get to the next circle. It's not as concrete as I'm making it out to be, but it is heavily suggested. So yeah, especially if your players are just starting out, it's a great idea. If you're playing a long Spelljammer campaign, they might want to go out to like the Void Dragon and Craglist and what's this other place down at the bottom right? Stellaria or Woven or the Mages Lab or Aras, and they might get themselves in trouble. So doing this concentric circle outward spiral is probably the best bet. Um, let's see what you guys have to say. Mm-mm-mm. Drew says gating, not railroad. Yeah, it's very much so. I mean, the players have a choice. It's just that you're limiting the choice. And mind you, choosing to go from one planet to another, a whole planet is a whole campaign unto itself. So let's not act like it's really like holding them back, right? Uh, I've heard it. Yeah, it says phlogiston. Yeah, I've heard it called. No, I'm sorry. WebDM, they called it phlogiston. I've always called it phlogiston, and I'm sure we can find different pronunciations of it. In the olden days of the original Spelljammer, the phlogiston or the phlogiston was highly volatile and flammable. I think in modern iterations of it, let's get this a little bit bigger here. The modern iterations of it, it was less volatile, so it was a little bit more friendly to exploration and such. But yeah, it's basically breathable. Uh, the breathable void, I think, is what you would kind of call it. Uh, I think it has some other properties, um, transportive properties. There are some modifications to how spells work and things like that, simply because using like extra planar, extra dimensional spells that call upon like spells that summon or teleport have a different. Um, there are side effects by using it in these astral realms. So yeah, and um, also your what you think of the astral realms might be different than other people think of it. So, um, would you consider literally the void of space to be the astral plane, or is this astral plane literally leading into gateways to planescape? That's literally up to what you think of it, because originally Spelljammer and Planescape were two completely separate settings. Spelljammer was literally going to other planets, not other planes of existence. Although you could leave like Oerth and then travel through the outside the crystal spheres and then go to another crystal sphere, which is a whole nother campaign setting like Mystara or Greyhawk. But yeah, it gets a little confusing. It gets a little bit into the time and space thing, but um, essentially the ethereal plane, the astral plane, the phlogiston or phlogiston, the crystal spheres, all that. I mean, if you want to make hard divisions or blend them all together, that's up to you. Drew says, I considered one day running a fantasy space game. I would, however, not do it as a sandbox, but more as a journey, like Battlestar Galactica with lots of ships in search of a new home. I like that. And also the idea that you are, first of all, I love the Battlestar Galactica theme that you just picked, because for players can get together and be on one page, right? That's one of the biggest problems about having like a sandbox is um, like some videos that have been released. It's more soap opera. Maybe we should be running more soap operas than sandboxes. And essentially, the players should be on one page, whatever that page may be. If they are pirates or thieving group or the arm of a military, or they are law enforcers or bounty hunters or something like that. Um, Battlestar Galactica absolutely is caring for a lost community that needs the PC's protection. And I love having a centralized theme, especially one that can be threatened. So yeah, players can be badasses, but if they're protecting innocent individuals and they have to travel from place to place, that can be cool. I think Kelsefel's Tales here, the Starlight Arcana, could be shaped, reframed for something like that, especially if the dangers of what's the conflict between these deities is causing harm. So to a community, and the players have to protect them, put them on ships or even a fleet of ships and travel from place to place, maybe trying to find a new place for them to go. And the players need to investigate things. I think that'd be awesome. More exploration and safety and such. Yeah. Shai says, breathable void. That reminds me. Remember how they did teleportation in Galaxy Quest? It's been a while. Yeah, I can't remember. I cannot remember. Now you're going to make me have to go back and watch it. And no, I do not remember how to use the teleportation in Galaxy Quest. Yeah, I know. Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Alan Rickman. Oh, Alan Rickman. Yeah, the End King says, isn't Planescape every setting though? Technically, yes. Yeah, technically every setting is Planescape because every setting exists somewhere in some time in Planescape. So I would agree with that. I think there was a missed opportunity in the new release of Planescape that if they didn't want to reprint the old Planescape, they could have at least given us the ability to create our own planes of existence and create new, stranger worlds to go to. And Plane Breaker and this a Starlight Arcana kind of fall into that realm of like, oh, I know you're used to the Abyss and the Nine Hells and Tartarus and some of these other planes of existence. Let's go someplace else. And that's exactly what this is. Yeah, Planescape, the real version, the second edition, implied that you should just ignore Spelljammer. I know it won't show the emoji over there, but yeah, that was one of the limitations and actually one of the downfalls of the old TSR was they made a lot of money making these uh, campaign settings, and then people begin to silo themselves within one campaign setting. So if you were a fan of Planescape, a lot of those people didn't want to buy Al Qadim or Dark Sun um, or Spelljammer because they were devoted to one setting. And that reduced the sales of these other settings, which they got a huge spike with the new setting. And then the sales dropped on the other settings. And then, of course, by producing more settings, they reduced the sales of the setting before it, thereby diluting their own product, even though everyone was playing some version of Dungeons and Dragons, which is why we don't see a lot of these new settings being. They try to encourage people that no, please bring this setting into the one you're playing in, rather than you have to pick between one or the other. Yep, 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 yep. Yeah, yeah. Every setting except Dark Sun, because having planeswalkers show up would break the world. Yep. Absolutely. Eberron is kind of like that. Like you know, you get the rarity of like, well, maybe these people aren't here. There's quite a bit of that. Oh, Galaxy was they just shot them through space in a bubble, and somehow they would get to their destination outside the solar system in like 3 seconds. That sounds horrible. I remember seeing something like that. Like, oh no. All right, so let's get back to the Arcana here, and as the let's get to the planetary section here. Mm-mm-mm-mm. So during this, I'll keep it this way. I'll keep the double space in case anybody wants me to focus on anything. Of course, you can't read anything here, but um, this section is about sailing the stars and how you're able to sail the stars and the various planets that you can go to and discover. Of course, the players you eventually want them to discover particular clues, but because this is an adventure in a campaign setting, you can decide to have them stay for as long as or as short as you wish, um, depending on the pressure that the players feel to go from place to place to place. So Netania, the sea planet, of course, is aquatic. There's places of interest. There are NPCs, and you can have them stay here as long as you want. The character options for many of the races, the rat folk, the raven folk, the shark people, of course, they can meet these people along the way, and meeting them along the way, you can have new NPCs, and of course, they can become PCs, or you can make an excuse for a new player character that says, "I want to make a shark person," show up as a maybe with a missive, or they're included with the crew of the ship and whatnot, and so on and so forth. And of course, we have like random tables and rumors and things of that nature as you read on. And like I said, it is an adventure, so they do have a rhythm. Many adventures have like a part one, part two. If the players do this, go to part four, and so there is that. But it tends to run in a, when I say a sandbox, um, maybe we need to have a different descriptor of this. But it's, if the players engage with one NPC, a certain number of things will happen. If they engage with, if they go to a secondary portion of the planet, maybe something else will happen. And so it's very loosely built, and it will tell you, give you examples of what might happen if they do or do not engage in particular activities. You know, if they don't solve the problem, here's what happens. If they do solve the problem, here's something else. Of course, like Star Wars, and this is fantasy as well. You know, is there an aquatic planet place? Yes, of course. Is there a jungle forest place? Of course. The mono, what is it? The mono ecologies. It's just a very simple way of doing it. Mind you, it they do suggest that it's not exactly mono ecologies. It's just that where the players go, it's primarily that ecology, kind of like Earth, right? There are some people who've lived in mountainous regions and they've never, no matter how far they've walked, they've never left it, and you kind of get the idea of that as well. But there's some fun. Um, Ia, ER''IA. What's with the apostrophes? How do you pronounce the apostrophe? Air, Aya? I don't know. Is it like a swallow or a click or something? I don't know. Anyway, that's the hunting planet. Of course, we've got like the Raven folk that live there. Some imagery, some maps and things like that. General maps, locations that the players can get into trouble. Different types of encounters. Like I said, random tables, breakout boxes with information that you can, and breakout boxes and box text as well, and what happens when they leave that place. And then we've got the Nather planet. Of course, you have to have a dark planet without sunlight. Mm-mm-mm. And then as we move on, Frono, the fungal planet. And we move on and on as they engage in, and of course they can acquire allies, equipment, artifacts, um, and you find out what happens at the end of many of these things. Like, for example, we stop here on the fungal planet. Um, says, as the party returns to the Starfarer, their starship, their impact on the Frono can be felt, and it talks about all of like the epilogue, like did they get things done? Who did they affect? Did they acquire an ally? Is their enemy being reinforced as they are traveling around? Of course, we got a desert planet, and different creators, writers came up with these. So I think there's some pretty interesting twists on the concepts of these. So the forest planet, the desert planet, the aquatic planet. Of course, there's going to be a frozen planet, and such. They do try to give you a bit of a twist on it, so there is something you can latch onto and go, "Oh, a forest planet. I kind of get it. There's going to be plants. There're going to be some kind of semi-sentient creatures up in the trees, etc." But then they try to twist it just a little bit, and I appreciate trying to give it a little twist so it's a bit of a surprise and not just automatically like oh, it's a forest planet. There's going to be something that's going to destroy the forest. Let's save the forest, and that's the story. It goes a little bit further than that. There's the mage's abandoned lab landscape. This is further into the outer rim of the circle, and you get some imagery here. They have a generalized map and what happens after you leave their lab, and then of course there's a Melion, the molten planet. Mm-mm-mm. Very much like physically visiting hell, and the prophecies that are involved in it. And then the epilogue, there's the snow globe planet, and then we get to the end here, and we'll show you some some other aspects. What I like about Spelljammer as well is you have the opportunity to make very strange bedfellows, and the best thing about having strange bedfellows is you can have characters and or NPCs and adversaries that come from strange different worlds and can organize themselves, come together, and have conflicts, as well as, of course, the whole RE thing, renaming, repurpose, uh, recontextualizing many of the monsters and adversaries and things like that. Like if you wanted, I don't know, dinosaur riding vampire lords with, I don't know, dragon consorts and a demonic army, there's a good excuse for having all of those things together. Or if you want to get a little bit more silly, like ogres and an ogre and a minotaur is the bodyguard for, I don't know, a gnomish crime lord who has a uh, spy network of ratkin individuals who are using, I don't know, flying snakes or something and fire beetles to garner secrets from around a city. It's like you could just start combining a bunch of these things and it will all make sense. Especially if you have a world in which they're visiting planet to planet, realm to realm on these spelljammer like StarCraft. Cool. Crassless, the crystal planet. But you get the point. I know I'm paging through this very quickly, but you get it. You kind of get it. And here we go. Let's get some. Here's some of the extra content. And some of the extra content is like, hey, if you guys kind of want to stay in this realm, here's some extra stuff you can do. Like there's a pirate's cove. There's a forgotten derelicts here and things like that. And you can just kind of use them um, as well. And then there's an index here for all of the stat blocks for the different bandits, monsters, NPCs, things of that nature, and giving them just a little bit of um a little bit of a twist. Like there's a blind eye assailant, there's a void channelers, and there's just different names and slight modifications for some of our classic monsters, and also giving us variations of adversaries that we can use and maybe carry on further into our other adventures. Like maybe there's other monsters, creatures, factions that explore the astral realm, astral spaceways, and these might be those individuals, right? Like here's Boar Boy who looks. You're like, you mean orc? Goblinoid? Yeah, kind of the same thing, but maybe not. Um, and some others. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah. Knowles? Yep. And Knoll Archer, Knoll Assassin. It's just variation. We've seen what is MCDM released a book, which I actually have, of what is it, Flea Mortals, and I can't remember the other book that basically has a bunch of different stat blocks. Same creature, different iterations of that same creature, so that you can use them and mix and match them and such. Knoll Shaman, Knoll Frontliner, easy stuff. Knoll Sorcerer, Knoll Chieftain, variations again on all the same types of monsters and things, and switch it up, especially for your players that are extremely familiar with all the monsters and such. And then we've got stuff that exists out in the stars. See what you guys have to say before we get out of here. I'm not going to hold you too long. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Yeah, Anon says lots of stuff about what there is, but not a lot about what to do or what's happening. I do agree with that. It's not there. So there's a meta plot to it, and I didn't really want to give it away, but all right, I'll let you know in a minute. Um, yeah, Anon says conversely, now they provide no support and just release a single book set for every setting and forget about it. Yeah, that's the problem, right? Yeah. The problem now that WotC and Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast are doing is they're basically releasing like one book. Well, they found out there's more money if you release like a 3 book box set, but it's like it's bare bones, and then they just forget about it. Like there's no support for it or anything. It's kind of crazy. I think it would have been better. They kind of hinted, well, have they, if they didn't have so much turnover, they hinted that they wanted to make a multiverse, so that they wanted to include that there were these things were happening all in the same spaces, and I think they could have done that very easily. They literally own the property. They could just tell you that everything happens in the same space, but I don't know. Apostropia, you know that. Vin Diesel. Yep. Mm-mm. So this setting totally has justification for its existence. I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. That's funny. Let's get into some of the plot stuff here. You just wonder how they got so much good art. I would probably think that by drawing from a large pool of individuals, um, that they were able to get some of the best art who from people. Because I'll go back to the beginning and find out where they got the art from. Because and mind you, I think you guys may be thinking like I was, that this was like AI art, but it isn't. Or rather, that's what it claims to be, and I'm going to believe them unless otherwise told. But some of the art I look at and go, some of that looks like AI art, and I'm not saying that it is. It is just like it's really good. It is really good. Is this, if I was going to make a character for this or Spelljammer, I'd want to make them a literal Odysseus. Yeah, he's trying to get to his home in ancient Greece, but he got really lost. I like that idea too. I mean, similarly, it's leaving home and finding a new place to live, or you're away from home and you got to get back there. And I think you could do that. He says, "How about this? You're standing on the deck of a spelljammer. You hit some rough phlogiston, go overboard, fall into the astral, and that's where your planescape adventure starts." Well met, Cutter. Cutter does, wow, that's an old slang there. Yeah, planescape and spelljammer actually are far more related to each other than a little bit. But here we go. Let's go back to here. Mm-mm-mm-mm. So, sorry. There we are. So, we're going to go to the designers, and then we will go to the plot of this damn thing. So, again, mind you, you can actually, I mean, you could just search for Kelsefeld's website, and there's the website, and it's listed down below in the doobly doo. So if you want to find out, like, what other things did they create, and these individuals that came together to create this, as far as like the artwork and the designers and such. But we're going to get here to the concept art and direction, interior illustration, artwork was Joanna Dusky Cat to the Travanesqua. Shit, I know I'm butchering that name. God damn it! I don't mean any disrespect to that person, but I have a lazy stateside tongue, so I apologize. Um, Graphic design. There's some. You can tell there's some graphic design art as well. Like the Knolls, you can kind of tell they were done. That was more of a graphic design, like, hey, we're just going to make slight variations of the same thing, which is fine. I think it's perfectly fine. uh, all digital files, including map print files, can be found here. And should this link change in the future for any reason, please make sure you check the project's Kickstarter for updates for a new one. All right, so let's get to the plot and the campaign intro. And this is where the idea of these competing gods, sun god, moon god, and things like that. And it does give you like it's this is the lore of the realm, right? It's the Zas, Uko, and Umi are the gods that have had this conflict, and of course you have to have a conflict with like a sun god and a moon god and whatnot, right? Makes it very simple, something to hold on to with a slight twist. And of course, they created night and day and all this kind of business. Umi, the moon goddess, very anime like. I'm not surprised. It's just it throws me off slightly that it has that very anime style look to it, but I'm okay, right? Especially if you're playing Dungeons and Dragons, which has a very heroic tone to it. Players being able to get their asses beat and then take a deep breath and come back for more fight without broken bones and bleeding and things like that. So it is a little bit anime, I suppose, if you really want to go for that. I mean, sun god Zas, of course, Moon, god of the void. I guess goddess would be it. And here they introduce like Latikar is the location where this starts to take off, and the player characters hear rumors about these other planets and travel and how they are introduced. And of course, it starts out with your lowly tavern and village and merchants and trading, and then it goes on from there. And I think what what the players start to uncover is that there are agents that understand the conflict with the deities and are harnessing, dare I say, encouraging the separation of the conflict with the deities and abusing their power separation, so that if one deity is stronger than the other, if the sun goddess is placated or cast aside or she's entrapped, that the void will grow stronger. And of course you have your enemies that are taking advantage of that fact. So yeah, definitely that kind of thing. Yet this tale, grand adventure, will cross the cosmos and deal with the power of creation. The starlight magic begins in the only way this odyssey can begin. The player character Here it is. The player characters have gathered in a tavern. And that's a classic starting point, right? It's a way for everyone to include it in their game. It starts in a tavern. There's a place known as the Dancing Hedgehog, which is kind of funny. A little comedic and whatnot. And if your players are not really down for, like, if they've never played in a Spelljammer campaign, it starts off in a very mundane kind of thing, like, hey, we literally just gathered together after a long adventure. What do we do next? And of course, they're pulled into this greater realm, and of course, hilarity ensues, and then they get drawn into the stars. And I think, as also, if this is new to you, meaning like if you're someone who not just hasn't heard of Spelljammer, but sandboxing adventure, tavern, small town, village, outside exploring. It very much falls in the same line as what is it? Keep on the Borderlands, right? It's small village. There's a keep on the literal edge of the Borderlands. We're going to go to the Caves of Chaos. It's that kind of thing, and then you break out into the greater realm here. I'm trying to figure out which place. Yes, Kitty. Yeah, I know. It's hours are coming up. Mm-mm-mm-mm. Stop. Mm-mm-mm. There we go. Stop it. Then we have um without breaking it down too much further, there is a crash site. There is a place where the players can get access to the Starfarer, which is the ship that they will get on and gather the crew together. And so then the players become the the crew members that can save the not necessarily wrecked ship, but Starfarer ship, and then they are pulled into a greater, a greater realm of adventure and whatnot. And of course, they become the hero. They're the heroes. They're the main characters. Now again, railroading, yeah, sure, um, but in terms of that, yes, I suppose you could make the case that is the case. But I think it's a pretty simple intro, and I don't think it's bad. Yeah, she's hungry for her head rubbies. It's the Lady of Pain instead of Cersei. Yeah, you could have mistaken the Lady of Pain for Cersei. Yep. Odysseus falls off his spelljammer and falls into the astral and meets the astral dreadnought instead of the Cyclops. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yep. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for letting me introduce this to you. Like I said, do you need to purchase this and use it as is? Like all of us, not necessarily, but do I think it has a lot of elements in it that you could use for your own game? And remember, this is third party publishing. So if you are someone who's like, I want to do a Spelljammer campaign, I refuse to spend money with Wizards of the Coast. I want to do a extra planar, extra dimensional, extra planetary adventuring, but I really only want to use like Tales of the Valiant or Level Up Advanced Fifth Edition. Um, there's got to be another. Oh, I can't think of another 5e version that was rewritten from the ground up. You guys need to let me know, other than Black Flag, Tales of the Valiant, or Level Up Advanced Fifth Edition. You guys let me know. Um, I know the MCDM. Oh, DC 20. Damn it. DC 20. Heck, I even think Vagabond may even fit into that category as well. Um, so if you want to buy one of those other third party versions, you can do that and use this as a backdrop. Like I said, it's got a forest planet, a desert planet, an Arctic planet, an aquatic planet, and you can just incorporate them into your um, astral void starfaring setting in your fantasy realm, with sailing on stellar starships with cannon on the side and things like that, breathing the void, just like Rocket Age was pulp action. This is also like that. You can have space piracy. I like the Battlestar Galactica, escaping somewhere and traveling the spaceways to find a new home. I like the Odysseus one of getting lost at in space and trying to find your way home. Maybe the players are sucked into a void, dumped out in the middle of nowhere, and they are scrambling their way to get back home. Maybe there's a great destruction or evil that will befall home, and the players are trying to get there to save their loved ones or something. I love that. Also, the players could be surveyors for a type of order of no, this sounds like colonization. A group of individuals out, like Star Trek, out to explore the spaceways and make connections with people, find new things, and also save people, right? Rescue slash treaties and envoys, traders, merchants that are going from planet to planet. They may also be the agents assigned to protect a region, much like the Green Lantern Corps from DC Comics, right? Green Lantern's light. Maybe the player characters have been assigned to protect a certain sector of space, certain specter of space, a certain sector of space, and they are the agents. Many of them may be coming from different locations in a space sector, and they are kind of like the law enforcing arm or arm of neutrality in terms of keeping various um, cultures in mind when they go from place to place. Maybe the laws change. Maybe the implications of something. Chocolate might be very tasty in one place and quite poisonous in another, and so they may have to control some of those things as well. It would be pretty funny and ironic if like the players take on travelers that are going from planet to planet, and they get the classic like a mimic, a gelatinous cube, and a rust monster. Pay their passage and are sitting on the deck of the ship as the player characters travel around or something. Is it yay? We are halfway through Hump Day in the Gemini, and all Yanks hardly even started. Definitely getting it started. Yeah, getting the I I see cracking open a cold one and lubricating, getting yourself lubricated with some libation, of course. The specter of space. Yeah, talked about Space Ghost the other day. I love myself some Space Ghost. And um, Mike Moldeski sent me a message, posted on my Facebook page, talking about like Forbidden Planet. There's a ton of these like black and white classic things. This had to do with Rocket Age. I suppose it's not too far off with pulp action like Rocket Age from yesterday and this Starlight Arcana today in terms of classic storytelling. Intrepid adventures landing on an unknown planet, exploring it is pretty. I mean, that's a real easy, intro to something. You get yourself some random tables, plop your characters in a random unknown world with strange plants, creatures, landscape, weather, and such, and you got yourself a built-in story. Add a couple of plot elements that the players are giving you as they start to describe what they think is going on, steal their ideas, and you're done. The Ant King says, just a group of individuals, friendly pilgrims, looking for a warm dinner, not colonizers, we promise. Yeah. My mind was going to colonists, and I was like, that has a heavily negative connotation. I was thinking more of friendly travelers meeting people along the way. Space Ghost? We got to see some Space Ghost. Space Ghost is mind you, Space Ghost has been um, uh, um, modernized. Especially, there's some Alex Ross art that's like amazing. That is absolutely uh, I dare say, I don't know, how do you describe it? It's Space Ghost. Yeah, we're at them. Here we go. There's some Space Ghosts. Let's see if we can get this a little bit bigger here. Yeah, Space Ghost. Mind you, there was a period of time during the heyday of Hanna Barbera, which was basically half-hour cartoons that were an excuse to sell toys, and each of the half, let's be honest, it was to sell cartoons and to sell cereal to children like myself during a period of time where we wake up very early on Saturdays and Sundays, and let's see, that's not bad. We get I want one that's nice and big. Anyway, Space Ghost was basically a space-styled superhero. He flew around in space, and he had these armbands. He could just press a button on his armband. He had some special power or something. Oh yeah, here we go. This is a montage collection of many of the um, cartoons that happened during that time. Johnny Quest. Let's see if I can find some. Johnny Quest, Space Ghost. Oh, what was his name? Do I see the Herculoids in here? These three. Oh, these three. I can't remember their names. There was one guy turned into a meteor. Anyway, yeah, they were created back to back to back to back, and fun also as well. Yeah, Space Ghost was basically a Hanna Barbera cartoon with a Batman type figure who patrolled space and fought bad guys. It's that simple. Yeah, that's basically it. It was what was it? I'll get you next time, Space Ghost kind of thing. No, 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 no. It was no deep lore at all. No, he could turn invisible, and his sidekicks could turn invisible too. They always had young people as sidekicks. That was very common amongst those cartoons as well. There was like a main manly dude that was part of the group. There was there was a mom-ish type figure sometimes who kind of like was the manly man dude would have like a deep voice and tell the young people out there, you need to brush your teeth or eat your four food groups or something like that. Sometimes they would include a young lady, a mom like figure who would gather the young children together, and then the young children would always cause trouble and be taught a lesson at the end of the 22 minutes. 30 minutes minus the commercials, 22 minutes. But they were cool. Yeah. Yeah, he was a normal dude. Uh, I think you got the impression that he was part of a larger group of people, but you never saw anybody else. But yeah, he was like, "I'm going to fight bad guys, and you're going to come with me." And so here's let's see if we pick this one. Um, it wasn't Jan and Jace. I can't remember. Maybe that was their names. And Gleep was the monkey. Or was Jan and Jace from shit? I can't remember their names. I'm not going to look it up. You guys figure it out. I'm not going to do it. Space Ghost. Anyway, thank you very much for allowing me to yeah. I was raised on cartoon reruns. I really fell in love with these things. So did I. I I I, I swear there's been RPGs based on these old games, like Thunder the Bar. I mean, not games, based on old cartoons like Thunder the Barbarian, and maybe we might do, maybe we might like do a world building, uh, like a Hanna Barbera verse, and do some world building on it. There's some classic. I mean, mind you, as an adult, I understand what their purpose was. It was to sell cereals and toys and things like that. But they were fun. Not very deep, but very fun. Stop. Why is come on, Flaming Skull? Come on. He doesn't have to be that dark. They weren't very dark um, adventures, but they did have a roster of bad guys and things like that they would fight all the time. Brack was very common, just like He-Man and whatnot. They would and a lot of the cartoons were limited in their violence. So it wasn't just punching people. They would always have to like drop a cage over the bad guy, put the heroes in a death trap, uh, trap the bad guys with a boulder inside of a cave, things like that. So yeah, Space Ghost was like, I'm going to use my freeze ray, and he pressed a gun, and then one of the bad guys would get frozen. His ankles would get frozen in ice, and oh damn you, Space Ghost, or something of that nature. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. I have to give some medicine to my cat, a cat that you won't ever see because she's a bit of a fraidy cat. So I have to do that as well. So, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. I believe the next 2 days we're going to go over Cryfoth and another one. Oh, I don't have the book near me. I don't know. Maybe I'll show you guys that some other time. But anyway, be inspired. When you're empty on your mind fuel, please fill up on that, as well as the fact that there are a lot of third party creators that are still creating material. Some of this material is older, from the 1915, 1917, 19, geez, 2015, 2017, 2019, that kind of stuff. And let me see. Let me go back and see exactly when this was, because I forgot when this was produced, and I know there was a recent Kickstarter. Sorry, going back to the beginning here, and there's got to be a date here. It doesn't have to be, but there should be one. Where's the date? Shout outs. Okay, backers. and I don't remember seeing it. No, I don't see a year. Hmm, strange. Okay, I don't know when it was produced. Well, could probably find that out on the Kickstarter page, but whatever the case might be. I wonder if it'll take me there. Because it's the Dropbox. I wonder if I go there, what it's going to show me. Uh, nope. Nope, nope, nope. Oh well. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Always seat of the pants when we're over here, right? Um, it's still trying to load up. There we go. There we go. So, guys, thank you very much for allowing me to show you Starlight Arcana, and other things made by Kel Fussell and the other individuals that have been brought into that realm of creativity. Really cool. Let's see if we make this even bigger. So anyway, you guys have a great day. Thank you very much for being part of the show. If you come this far and my hesitation, interruptions, mistakes, and flubs don't bother you for this unscripted hanging out before or after the game kind of talk sitting around the table, then please like, share, subscribe, let other people know about it. Hell, you may not like me, in which case share this with your enemies as well. But anyway, please have a great day. Thank you very much for being here. I have to get on going. I'll see you later. Bye.